off.
Yeah, I think
think.
It's an interesting concept in the fact that with artwork, we often see it in a museum or a gallery. And one might say that we are speaking to the choir, preaching to the choir at that point. There's a lot of, the practitioners of a gallery are oftentimes expected to be there, that type of person. By taking the work outside in the landscape, as your work often does, you're speaking to an entirely different audience. The work that you titled Precious, Precarious, you repurpose an entire hillside. It's probably the grandest scale project I've seen you work on, where you garnered the support of volunteers and you spelled out these words in some, acre or two of land. What was that project about? How did that come about?
Well, I think conceptually anything that's precious is also precarious or at risk. And in that instance, we were looking at greenbelt land where you can have no development, and contrasting it to the land surrounding that greenbelt, which was totally filled with houses and industry. And our idea there was to make a living or organic billboard. So again, you could see this giant hill from the freeway. And what we did is we carved out the word precarious. So in the winter, when you would drive by the freeway, in letters that are about 100 feet tall and on an acre of land, you see the word precarious. And then somewhere around December and January, after the rains, the grasses grow back in and that word is neutralized. And then sometime around the spring, the word precious reappears. So it's almost like one word dissolving into another. And we're counting on commuters who go back and forth from their work on an annual basis to experience that piece. So that particular piece is time-based, although it's, I guess you would call it an earthwork.
And it's site-specific. It's dealing specifically with some of that area. And
yeah, it's Benicia, California, where all the oil refineries are, and there's a lot of fast and new growth there at the time.
Okay. Well, that kind of brings us up to modern day, or the present day, I should say, with the work you're currently doing, which deals specifically with these landscapes, but again, events that have either taken place or notions of the space, and in a body of work that you call the dress tents. So how did this come about, and what is your thinking behind this? And I know it's a group project, again, maybe one other artist, but you've got to work directly with, seamstress and maybe iron workers, I don't know.
Glaciers, everything else, yeah.
The atmosphere.
This project created with Adrian Powell, you're right, it's called Dress Tents, nomadic wearable architecture. So in this case, we're building wearable pieces of architecture. So for example, one of our most recent pieces is called the Ice Queen, and she's a glacial retreat. She's 14 feet in diameter and about 12 feet high, and you're invited to come up under her skirt to learn a little bit about the weather. So she's representing a glacier. And for us, glaciers are the most visible barometer of climatic change. So she's an ice queen, and she's a weather station, and she's a polar research station, and she's holding a weather balloon, a 15-foot weather balloon in her hand. And we have weather data and little video cams up there projecting information to the inside of the tent, and visitors are invited to come inside that tent. And when you come inside, it's full of foggy, dry ice. And then you see the weather data all around. And then you hear these crickets almost sounding like, underground whale songs, and you're thinking, well, why are crickets in this glacial environment? But what's really interesting is crickets are little thermometers. The hotter they get, the faster their pitch when they chirp. So what we did is we looked at the Industrial Revolution to 40 years projected into the future. And every 7 years, we checked the temperature. And then we had the crickets basically sing that climatic change. And then originally she was photographed in Mount Shasta, California, where we have one of the few advancing rather than retreating glaciers. So she was photographed in her motherland to give her a sense of who she is. And then she's, to use your word, she's repurposed in other locations. She was commissioned by 01, which is an international festival highlighting artists who work with on the edge of science and new technology. And so then she reappears, let's say, in front of the San Jose Museum of Art. And in that sense, she doesn't have the glaciers in the back to help you understand, you know, what her identity is. But when you go up under her skirt, that's slowly revealed.
Interesting. And you've dealt with other spaces as well, the California-Mexico border, and I've seen some lava fields, and that work being very site-specific is exactly the notion of landscape that I think encompasses the broader context of our landscape. And you mentioned how it's about something outside of yourself, and I think your work highlights that. Not only is it beautiful and elegant, but it's very conceptual, and it addresses a broader audience than just the gallery goer. And I want to thank you for the interview today and the insight into your work.
It's fun, John.
Thank you.